Wow, that's a beautiful car. Unfortunately, one of my business associates said this car wasn't beautiful, and I took great offense to that. We threw him off the cliff behind us. But I'm going to tell you why this car right here, the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo, is not only one of the most beautiful, but also one of the best driving and most engaging electric cars on the market. And I truly mean this. This is an incredible vehicle. So, without further ado, let's get in. If you're new here, welcome to Ever. Whether you're looking at trading in your old EV or upgrading to a newer one, we have you covered. We have an inventory of over 200 used electric vehicles, and all of which are backed by a battery health score, a 150-point EV inspection, and a 90-day limited warranty. Ever is the best way to buy and sell electric vehicles. But first, what is this car? Well, everyone's pretty much familiar with the regular Porsche Taycan. That car released as a 2020 model year, and it was Porsche's foray into the EV space. It has an 800-volt battery architecture and great performance, as you would expect from a Porsche. But the Cross Turismo is a little bit different. It's kind of like the more rugged version of the Taycan. So what you get on the Cross Turismo is, first off, a hatchback. So this is no longer a sedan with a trunk. You get a hatchback, and you can get roof rails like this example has, which make this car look more like an SUV or station wagon. You also get plastic cladding around the sides that just give this car a more rugged look and feel. But underneath, this car is virtually the same as the regular Porsche Taycan, but there are some differences. So the regular Porsche Taycan comes as standard with around an 80 kilowatt hour battery pack. But if you get the Cross Turismo as standard, you will get a 93.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is great because it adds a little more range. You also get different wheel designs in the Taycan Cross Turismo, and most importantly, you get air suspension as standard. So as I said earlier, this is more of the off-road version, and you aren't going to be taking this car off-roading, rock climbing like you would in a Jeep, but you can definitely take this car on dirt roads. The Taycan Cross Turismo, like this version right here, is specifically the Taycan Cross Turismo 4. Now this is the base entry-level powertrain that you get on the Cross Turismo. But this car still has pretty good specs. It makes 469 horsepower, and it has a range of around 215 miles. But before we get to that, I want to say Porsche is very conservative with their range estimates, so you can probably get more like 250 miles in real-world driving. This car, also being an 800-volt Porsche, has incredibly fast charging times, and Porsche says you can charge from 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes. And while we typically talk about trim levels in our reviews, Porsche doesn't really offer different trims. So, I mean, obviously you have the different powertrains. You can get the Taycan 4, the 4S, GTS, Turbo, Turbo S, etc. You can get different powertrains. There really are no trim levels of the interiors. Now, there's a few packages. You can get like the premium package for additional options on the interior, but for the most part, a lot of these different features that you want in the Porsche Taycan are available a la carte off the menu. So this car, for example, has ventilated and heated seats, which were options. You also have a heated steering wheel, heads-up display, Bose audio, adaptive cruise control, and if you were speccing out a Porsche brand new, you would probably get these a la carte, or you could get it in various packages. Like for instance, there's the InnoDrive package, which adds adaptive cruise control and lane centering. But one other trick the Taycan has is its starting price. I know what you're saying, the Taycan's expensive. Yes, a new one is, but used ones are much more affordable. So this one was well over $100,000 brand new, but today you can get it for around $67,000 with about 40,000 miles on the odometer. So this car has come down substantially in price. And starting off our interior review, we will hop into the back seat of the Taycan. Now, first thing you notice before we get in is this car has really, really nice feeling doors. So we get frameless windows, which are really nice. It gives you that premium sports car vibe that you would come to expect with a Porsche. You also have nice popping out door handles, which are really cool. And this whole door just feels very, very well built. Now, getting into the back seats, you sit down, It's actually pretty easy to get in and out despite this being a sportier vehicle. I think this is a lot better than the regular Taycan, which has a more sloped roofline back here. So once you're situated in the back seats of the car, you feel cocooned, if that's the right word. So it's not incredibly spacious back here. You actually get a bit of a transmission hump, or I say transmission, there's actually parts of the battery pack which kind of encroach into that territory. But you do feel like you're in the back of a sporty vehicle. All the materials are really nice. So this headliner, this isn't the Alcantara, but it feels very soft. It's a nice material to touch. You get soft touch material up here, more soft touch, and generally this whole door panel is very nice materials. They're not the softest soft touch materials, but they feel very premium. I like the feel a lot. And also we can control our air conditioning temperature and fan speed right here. So we can adjust the fan speed there, temperature there, and we can also choose the direction of airflow, which is really cool. So these knobs right here are not physical knobs that we can adjust, but you can adjust them through the screen right there. And you also have two USB-C ports located hidden actually under the third seat back here. And we also have a cup holder, which we can pull down here. And overall, it's a nice interior to be in. It's not super spacious, but it feels very premium. So now once we move up to the front passenger seat of the Taycan 4, we notice a few things. First off, we have our door sill guard right here. It is in plastic though, because the original buyer never spec'd on the aluminum or carbon fiber one, but that's okay. We don't pay much attention to that. But what you do pay attention to is this display right here. This is a very interesting feature. So this was an option when you could buy this car brand new, and we have several things that we can look at. So the passenger can click on the navigation so we can see where we are. We can also click on cockpit, and this is a really cool feature. So it shows us our heading degrees, our elevation, our speed, the drive mode we're in, and our G-force meter. So when you're accelerating, you can see how many G's you're pulling. This is pretty cool. So this just gives a little more added interaction from the passenger seat of the car. All right, now we are situated in the front seat of the Porsche Taycan. Now this is where things get super interesting. So first off, what we see here is we can probably just migrate over to this center area. So this is our climate control menu. Now the thing is, some people are like, hey, we need buttons, and other people are like, I'm fine with that being through the touch screen, but this is an interesting kind of medium. So this is not like a regular touchscreen. This is actually a pressure-sensitive haptic screen. So it's very similar to like 3D touch on the older iPhones. And basically what we do here is we can control the temperature and fan speed, and we can also do our ventilated seats, because this was an option spec'd on, and our heated seats as well. This is really cool. Now the thing is, if I press lightly, nothing happens, but if I increase the pressure, it will adjust it. So this kind of is an interesting medium because you feel like it's a button, but obviously it's through the touchscreen. And I honestly like it. It feels pretty cool. You can also put the car into sport mode easily right through here, which is nice. And we can also click on our battery to see our battery percentage and our range. And we can also pre-cool or heat the battery before DC fast charging. And then if we move up here, we can see our general home screen. This is our home menu. Obviously, right to the right, we have our passenger display, but once we go here to our main display, we can do some functionality. So first off, we have our navigation menu, and this is great for finding chargers. And if we zoom out, we actually have a really cool range map. So this blue area shows us how far we can go on our current state of charge. So right now we're at 47%, and looks like we can make it all the way down to Modesto without needing to recharge. But as for planning trips and routes, what we do here is we can just type in wherever we want to go to. So say we want to go to the Colorado School of Mines. So once we type in this lovely destination, the great and powerful Colorado School of Mines, we type in where we want to go and click on that exact location. Now the car will calculate the route to get there, and what it will also do is show us the charging stations we need to stop at to get to that specific location. Now the thing is, this takes a little while. It's a little slow, but it will eventually show us all the charging stops we need to make. So unfortunately, we could not visit the great Colorado School of Mines, so we'll just go to San Diego instead. So now, once we have this planned, we can actually see all our charging stops we're going to make. So we can see right here, hey, we need to make one stop in 71 miles to charge up for 19 minutes, and then another stop a little bit further down the route and charge for 21 minutes. And overall, this is a pretty decent route planner. I think one of the main things you'll notice with this car is definitely software is not Volkswagen or Porsche's strong suit, but the thing is, this is relatively functional. So we can see all our charging stops we'll need to make, and it works. Are there better software vehicles out there? 100%, like a Rivian. But this is not bad. There's definitely worse systems out there, but there is some decent functionality as well. So we have wireless CarPlay, Android Auto, we have Sirius XM through media, etc. And it works fine. There is a lot of customization too, at least for the vehicle itself. So if we do click on vehicle, we have so many different drive modes to select from. And given that this is the Taycan Cross Turismo with air suspension, this car can actually have up to 6.7 inches of ground clearance, which is pretty crazy because this is based on the same car as the Taycan, which is a sports car. And this car, as we can see, has really good ground clearance. So yeah, you're not going to go off-roading in this car, but you have decent enough ground clearance that you can take this car on light off-road trails and get over potholes and other bumps in the road with ease. We can go to gravel with highest ground clearance setting, sport mode, change the chassis to Sport Plus, etc. Put on the electric sport sound. We also have our driver assistance features as well, which we will go into very soon. And we can see some other information and also like ambient lighting, etc. So there is some good customization here. Now, we also have a really nice 360 camera. So if I put the car in reverse, we will see this camera right here. So we can actually see around our car in 3D. And as we can see, we can look around our car in 3D and the proportions are not bad. So we can see everything looks relatively accurate and this is just really nice. So we have a pretty good 360 view of our vehicle. I think the top-down view is particularly great for avoiding curbs, etc. And yeah, this is a pretty good system. And migrating over to what is right in front of us is our gauge cluster right here. We also have right to the right of that our drive selector. So drive, you press down, reverse, you press up, and park, you press the park button right there. The start stop button is actually off to the left, but you don't really always need to use it. So if you just want to leave the car, just put in park, get out, and the car will automatically turn off. On the steering wheel, there's not that many controls. So we have like our volume here. We can turn recuperation on, etc. If you do have the Sport Plus package, you actually get a drive mode selector on the steering wheel. This car doesn't have it, but you can just press the Sport mode button there to get you in that mode. And we have our adaptive cruise control, which was an option that was added on right to the left of the steering wheel, and it works just as good as you expect. And I honestly think Porsche's adaptive cruise control system is probably one of the more smooth and kind of comfortable adaptive cruise control systems on the market. Some cars like the Kia products, Hyundai's, are a little more jerky. Some other cars too, even like Tesla's autopilot, can be kind of aggressive at times. This actually does a pretty good job of predicting when the cars are going to slow down and easing into the brakes without being too aggressive. Now, right in front of us, we also see a map so we can see where we're headed. Right now, I have this option turned on where we can have our G-force meter displayed right there, which is really cool. And we also have a few controls to the right of the steering wheel, which is, for instance, our ground clearance. So we can raise the ground clearance from a click of the button, and we can put the car into sport mode through there or disable traction control. Headlights are off to the side right here, and this honestly works pretty well. I like it a lot. And just overall with this interior in general up front, the materials feel really good and everything feels very well built. This is a very nice cabin. Everything feels sturdy. We have decent soft touch materials all around. So this is soft touch. Even the dashboard is soft touch. this is plastic, but you don't really touch it that much. But I think overall, Porsche just knows how to build a nice, good, premium interior. And this car feels very premium, and it's a very pleasant cabin to be in. And now the nice thing about this being a Porsche, and moreover an electric Porsche, is you get a pretty good front trunk. So to open it, you press this little red lever and you can lift it up. And as you can see, there is actually a decent amount of storage space inside this interior. So we'll do a little demonstration. We'll do a demonstration to show you how much we can fit inside this interior. And check this out. We can fit 2 full-size backpacks in the front trunk. And honestly, that's a lot of space. Some cars don't have a front trunk that's quite as big as this. And honestly, this is a great size. We can fit a lot of stuff in here, and this will make road trips pretty easy. The washer fluid is right here. And now traversing to the rear of the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo. But before we get to the back, let's just take a moment to appreciate this proportion. Just look at this. This looks so nice. These flared out fenders, this nice sloping roofline. This is truly a beautiful car, but I digress. Now back to the back of this car. We will see also we have a rear wiper, which is nice back here. And we have the clear taillights. So that was an option when this car was new, and it was spec'd with it, and it looks really cool. Now to open the rear tailgate, we press this button right here, and it's power operated as you would expect from a Porsche. And we have a pretty decent storage area back here. This is really nice. We actually have our charging cables back in there, which is really cool. And as you can see, lots of space. So we can set our backpacks in the back of here. And yeah, I mean, you got a lot of space. And there's also some underfloor area down here. So as you can see, you can put some more stuff back here. And this is overall a pretty spacious tailgate, and no complaints with this. So if you're considering the regular Taycan versus the Cross Turismo, but want to go on some skiing trips or want to just take this on longer journeys, definitely opt for the Cross Turismo. There is so much space in here. And now we're on to charging, which is the greatest attribute of the Porsche Taycan 4. So first off, this car has an 800-volt battery architecture. That means it's great for DC fast charging. This vehicle right here has a peak DC fast charging speed of 270 kilowatts. And sure, anyone can say their car has a high peak charging rate, but the thing is, the Taycan 4 has a monster charging curve. It is truly insane. In fact, this car can charge from 10 to 80% in around 18 minutes. And considering this is the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo, all of these models come with the 93.4 kilowatt hour battery pack. So to charge from 10 to 80% with such a massive battery is truly insane. And we've been at this charging station for around 7 minutes. We got here with 10% battery, and now we're already at 46% state of charge. To say this car charges fast is an understatement. This is truly one of the best charging EVs even 3 years later. And like we mentioned earlier, this car has a range of around 215 miles according to the EPA, but like a lot of things with this car, that number is kind of understated, and independent tests have shown that at 70 miles per hour, this Taycan 4 can travel up to around 250 miles. So not only is the charging underrated, so is the range. And this car is just overall a great charging EV. If you go on long road trips, this car is definitely one of the best options for charging really quickly. Now, there is one caveat that we need to discuss, and that is the fact that the Taycan is an 800-volt EV. So if you're familiar with EV charging stations, a lot of Tesla superchargers, which this car can use, by the way, with an adapter, a lot of superchargers are only 480 volts. Now, that means you need to step up the voltage to match the voltage of the Taycan's battery pack. So that means you will get limited charging rates at superchargers. And that limited rate will still be around 150 kilowatts, which isn't bad per se, but at least we know this car has a really good charging curve. Will probably flatten out at 150 kilowatts for a pretty big duration of the charging session. And onto the driving experience of the Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo 4. And before we start, I know what you might ask, what are these sunglasses? And I'll tell you this nice story real quick. So after the Prince Adley passed away, he had an estate sale, and I went there and I bought these glasses for $900 from his family's estate sale. He was a great realtor and he sold many houses during the 2008 financial recession. But back to the Porsche Taycan 4. This car drives so well. I mean, as you would expect, it's a Porsche. You want it to drive well, and this car delivers. So this is the slowest Porsche Taycan 4. I'm going to start off with the acceleration, and yeah, it's not the fastest Taycan you can get. It's 0 to 60 in around 4.8 seconds, and it has 469 horsepower, but you got to keep in mind this is also a pretty hefty vehicle. But even at that current number, this is not a slow car by any means. If you floor the accelerator, this is still a very quick vehicle, especially when you're in Sport Plus mode. This car does not feel slow at all. The real strong suit comes in two different things, and that is just the overall ride quality of the vehicle, and the second thing is the steering and handling feel. This is probably one of the best steering EVs I've ever driven. I've driven a lot of EVs, and even when you compare this to other performance-oriented EVs like the BMW i4, there's just no numbness in this steering. This is a very, very good steering electric car. This is direct, it's responsive, and it just feels very natural. Some EVs you get in, like the Tesla Model 3, they have very responsive steering, which is great, but it's like kind of twitchy and it feels like too electronic. This just feels natural, smooth, and direct. Very nice. Next is the overall ride quality on this vehicle. So as we can see here in our central display, we have tons of different drive modes, and we can start off with like sport, normal, range, or gravel. So if we're in gravel, that's obviously the highest ride height. But if we're in sport right here, then we can go down to like the chassis, so we can change the overall feeling of the suspension and dampers. Keep in mind this car does come standard with air suspension, so there's a lot of customizability here. We can also change the chassis height. We can have our regenerative braking turned on and our Porsche electric sound, which we have enabled right now. But what's really nice about this car is these drive modes really make the car feel very different. So if you're in sport versus comfort, there is a notable difference, and I really like that. Next up, this car does have one attribute that some people don't like, and that is that there is no one-pedal driving in this EV. So the whole time I've been driving, I've been using the physical brake because this car doesn't really regen when you let off the accelerator. So if you get like a Tesla, Polestar, Mustang Mach-E, etc., a lot of those cars will have true one-pedal driving. You let off the accelerator and the car will slow you down. This vehicle, it does regen. So some people are like, this vehicle doesn't regen, but it does. The car does regen, but it has a blended brake pedal. So when you are pressing the brakes, you are going to be regenning, maybe up until a certain threshold when you push the brakes very hard and you need to decelerate very quickly. But for most of the time, whenever you slow down, you will be regenning, but it just will be through the brake pedal. Now, the thing is, the brake pedal in this car is so well tuned. So when I do decelerate in this vehicle, it doesn't feel like I'm regenning. Some cars get really squirrely and they feel just very unnatural when you decelerate. But this brake pedal feels great and it slows you down very smoothly. So it's not like you feel this lurch when you go into regen versus friction brakes. It just works really well, feels really good. Would I prefer there to be one pedal driving? Sure, but I think this car just functions fine as it is. And as for autonomous driving features in the Porsche Taycan, I want to be clear, it varies a lot depending on which option package you have added. So if you have Porsche's InnoDrive option pre-selected, then your Taycan will basically drive itself on the highway. It will require you to put your hands on every now and then, but it will center itself in the lane. It can do automatic lane changes, etc. But when you have a model like this, all we get is adaptive cruise control, which is fine, but I still will need to be active and paying a lot of attention when I'm driving. Now, some Taycans may have nothing at all. So you might find some Taycans that will be on the cheaper end, but they may not have any adaptive cruise control or lane centering or anything, and it will basically just, you got to drive it like a normal car. So if you want those features, you make sure to look for them in the used market, because it can vary a lot. So you can get one Taycan that does basically everything, and then another that has the same autonomy as the 2012 Tesla Model S. So it's just good to be on the lookout for those features if that's something you want. And in conclusion, should you consider a Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo? Well, I truly think you should, especially if you're in the market for a vehicle of this caliber. The Taycan Cross Turismo just does stuff that's so much different than any other EV on the market. So what this car has is great ground clearance. Like I said, up to 6.7 inches of ground clearance, which is very impressive for a car that's on the same platform as a sports car. But you also get an amazing driving experience, great steering feel, great handling, and just overall a really impressive ride quality. You also have a nice premium interior and a decent amount of storage space. And overall, this is one of those few EVs that does a lot of stuff really well. You have decent range and also amazing charging. And especially secondhand, these things are really great deals. And if this is a vehicle you might be looking for, I gotta say, I recommend this car wholeheartedly. It does so many things really well, and just look at it. It is a beautiful car. Thanks for watching.